Good afternoon. I'm here in Oslo and I have a chance to talk to two wonderful ladies about human ceremonies in Norway. So my guests are, and my hosts at the same time, are Ms. Pleym, who is the head of ceremonies, and Ms. Skaara, organizational advisor of the Oslo region. So talking about human ceremonies, I've heard that they are extremely popular in Norway. Is this true, or this is just the publicity?
Confirmation is very popular. Confirmation is our biggest activity. We have over 12,000 youth every year choosing our ceremony and not the church. So that's the biggest ceremony. And then after that, weddings and funerals are more or less the same, around between 600 and 700 each year. And then we have naming ceremonies as well for about 2,500 babies every year. So
and how many people take part in the confirmations?
How many?
How many take part in the confirmations?
In our confirmations? Mm-hmm. 12,500 was last year.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's a lot of children, young people. It's almost 19% of the youth, all youth in Norway. 19% of them choose our confirmation, which is amazing because if you look at the church. Well, can I talk a little bit about confirmation? Yes, because
it's very special.
Because you kind of need to know the history of Norway to understand why confirmation is such a big part. Because back in the days in Norway, in the old days, you had to get confirmation from the church to get a job, to get a house, to get married. You had to be confirmed. It was a way to say that I'm now a responsible adult person. So, and maybe you can even go to school if you didn't go to church and get confirmation. So this is a very big tradition in Norway, and for that reason, the founder of our organization, Christian Horn, he wanted in the 60s to give his daughter an alternative. Mm-hmm. Because he wanted to make sure that she got confirmed as well, like everyone else, but he didn't want his daughter to stand in front of the priest and lie. Mm-hmm. So this was the beginning of our organization, and it's important then to understand the whole culture of Norway with confirmation, and this is why our confirmation is big and is growing, because it's a tradition in Norway. Most of the youth, when they are 14, they get confirmed still. And every year we get criticism from the church and others who say, why do you call it confirmation? Because confirmation is to confirm when you were baptized, right? Mm-hmm. That you confirm your belief in God. Well, actually, no. It doesn't mean that. Even the Roman soldiers were confirmed. So you can say that you confirm who you are and who you want to be, and you confirm that you are taking responsibility of your own life. It doesn't have to confirm that you believe in God. You can confirm whatever you want. And this is important for us because as part of our confirmation, these youth take part in a course. Mm-hmm. Over many weeks, every one night per week, or maybe there's a weekend or a couple of weekends where they discuss human rights, ethical issues. Maybe they talk about the refugee problem. Maybe they talk about identity, sexuality. There's loads of different subjects. Humanism, of course. Talk about humanism. Mm-hmm. And it's not because we want them all to become humanists. That's not our goal. We want them to be able to think critically about the world around them and to take some kind of standpoint in a way to start to develop some kind of ideas about who they are as a person.
So if someone takes part in the confirmation ceremony, it does not mean automatically that that person becomes a humanist.
No, and this is very important for us because the law, the age of law for when you can join a church or us or any belief system is 15 years old in Norway, and our confirmands are 14. So we have no right to ask them to become a member of our organization because they are under the age.
It's actually a very nice law that so the small children are not being baptized here, or they do?
Yes, because we still have a state church, even though we don't, but we do. In theory we don't, but in practice we do. And the church don't uphold this law, right? Because the church say that you get baptized in the church and then the child becomes a member of the church. But it's very ethically and morally for us, it's very important that we uphold this law because we agree with it. We think it should be up to each person. When you are 15 years old, then you can decide where you want to be a member. It shouldn't be that your parents decided for you. You should make that choice yourself.
And also the choice of the confirmation ceremony is the child's choice, or it can be actually the parents' choice?
It's a good question because we, like everything, when you're 14, maybe you decide you want to do this because your friends are doing it, or maybe because both of your parents are members in our organization and you want to do, you want to kind of follow their expectations. So it's a mix of things, and we have some of these youth who come from a Christian family and they want to choose something very different. Some of our youth come from a humanist family, so they choose what their big sister chose. It's not a very straightforward yes or no answer to this question. I think our teenagers are like every other teenagers. They have different reasons for choosing what they choose.
Anna, you've been working for many years with the confirmations. Could you tell us a bit more about how they look like? What do people do there?
Yes, well, like Tala was telling, it starts with this 10 weeks course where they go through these different kind of subjects. And I would like to focus on the ceremony, because here in Oslo we are so lucky that we have been able to use the city hall ever since it started, with both the confirmation ceremonies and now also the name-giving ceremonies for the small babies. And I think being able to use the city hall really makes it very official in a way, and very worthy. Yes. So the ceremonies, talking about the confirmation ceremony, lasts like an hour and 15 minutes, and it's around 100 youth that are being confirmed during the ceremony, and more than 1,000 guests on each ceremony. So we're talking, you said that there are like almost 20,000 confirmants. No, what did you say?
Yeah, 12,500.
12,500, yes. But I'm thinking, when you think of all the guests that are attending our ceremonies, like in Oslo there are like thousands attending both the confirmation ceremony and the name-giving ceremony. So these ceremonies are really a big arena for us to show what we do in practice in the Humanist Association here in Norway. And the ceremony, even, you know, we hear grandparents that come in and they are very skeptical about this because it's not the church and everything. And I've never heard anybody complain, you know, they're all so pleased with the ceremony and the whole confirmation preparations and everything after their youth.
I have to say, that's such a nice experience when you have grandparents coming up and saying, and they get so positively surprised. They're saying, "Wow, this is much better than we expected," and it's a very good thing, isn't it?
It is, yes, because especially also during the confirmation ceremonies, we try to use young actors. So there are usually young performers, you know, dancers or singers or musicians that attend, and also there is always a speech from the youth to the grown-ups, which also is very touching. And there is also a speech from a famous person that have the main speech. And it's never been hard to find speakers because it's very well respected in Norway, this confirmation ceremony that we have.
Yeah.
And what are the speeches about? About the humanist values, or about what does it mean to be an adult person?
It's because the main speaker is usually an external person.
Yes.
Like so it's not always so easy for us to decide what that person writes about.
Yes.
But they usually tend, as I said, because confirmation is such a big tradition in Norway, there are quite a lot of expectations to what a confirmation speech is about to include. You're supposed to give some advice to the confirmands about, you know, now you're on your way from child to a grown-up, and, you know, giving some advice and talking about maybe some big philosophical general things about life and that kind of thing. But I agree, the good thing about when the confirmands go up is that they very often tell the guests about what they have experienced during the course. And that's very nice.
Yes,
then you get the youth telling, you know, we had 10 evenings together and it made me think differently, and you know, now I kind of think more critically, or maybe now I've started thinking more about who I am or who I want to be, and so it's a very nice thing.
But I also think it's important to stress that the main speakers also on the name-giving ceremonies, and also in funerals, and I suppose also weddings, you really have to be a member. But it's just not to focus so much on humanism. I mean, the values are there, but we are very aware that very many of our guests and participants are not members, and that, you know, we shouldn't preach humanism during these ceremonies.
That's true. That's actually a very important issue, because, you know, when the ceremony is happening, we have 20 or 30 or 40 or an hour. We have a lot of time that these people see us and hear us, and everything we do in a ceremony shows them who we are. So it's not just about what we say, it's how professional do we look, how smooth is the ceremony going, what kind of music do we play, what do we wear. All these things tell these thousands of guests that Humanist Forbund, our organization, is a positive, professional, inclusive organization.
Yes.
And that's what we try and, you know, put out there.
Well, this really sounds great, and this idea of teaching young people to think for themselves and then giving them a chance to either join or not the humanist movement later on. This really sounds great. Do you have many teenagers who come from religious families who actually decide to join your confirmation?
I don't know exactly. I think I think it varies around the country. You know, we have here in Oslo, we are very secular. You know, it's a mix of different people in Oslo, like in any big city. But if you go to other smaller places in Norway that are more religious, then we have fewer confirmands in those areas because it's much harder for those youth to, you know, choose a different path.
But isn't it also so, Tale, that less than 50% of the confirmands come from where their parents are members?
Yes.
I think so. It's
That's
not
true.
only something that member families choose, it's also people that belong to the state church or other religions.
And this has always been very important to us from the start, to say that our ceremonies are for everyone. You don't have to be a member to to choose a naming ceremony, confirmation or funeral. The only ceremony where we say that one of the couples need to be a member is in our wedding ceremony. So that's the only one where we said, you know, we have sort of a membership.
And why is that?
It's because when we got the right to wed in 2004, and
the legal right.
Yeah, the legal right to wed. That's right. Legal right to wed. Before that, we were applying to the department for many years, and our argument was that if the Norwegian state really mean in practice that we have freedom of religion and freedom for religion in Norway, then we should have the legal right to wed just like the Muslims and the Christians and everyone else do, because we are an organized belief system, so that you can't discriminate us. This was the argument. And so in our application then for this, we had to, in a way, prove that this was important for us and our members. And so this is why we had to put in then that one of the couples will be a member, because this is something that we will do for our community, in a sense, because we don't get it anywhere else. Yeah.
Because actually this is the only ceremony that has legal results, right? Because, well, others are symbolic ceremonies for the people who attend them.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're getting your ID after the confirmation or something.
No,
like
exactly.
that, right?
You don't get anything,
No.
you know? So that's right. And in our wedding ceremonies, we have our own text based on humanist values that we, you know, when the couples say yes to each other, we have our own formula, our own text that was approved by the department. So that's very special. It's a very nice text that they say yes to each other here and now. They don't say yes to each other for the rest of their lives, because we don't know that. You can only say yes to each other here and now. And base their relationship on love, mutual respect, kjærlighet, likeverd, gjensidig respect. So love, equality and mutual respect.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anne, as a celebrant, you were mostly focusing on the confirmations, or you were also officiating other types of ceremonies?
Well, I worked, when you say celebrant, I don't know if that's the right word, because when I started to work here, I worked with the confirmation and were instructor, like we say, for the courses, and also attending the ceremonies. And then also for the name giving ceremonies, it's we just have the ceremony in the city hall. It's not like we are a celebrant in the way that doing the weddings.
Yeah.
But I have also been, you could say, a celebrant for funerals, and that has been a very meaningful job because you really get to get very close to a family, and you feel that you're doing a very important job in a special time in life. So I think that's maybe the ceremony that is my closest to my heart in a way, because that has I think it's very important to have this alternative, that you don't have to have a funeral in the church and led by a priest if that's not the right thing for the person who died.
Yeah.
So
is it normally the family of the person who died who decides that this should be a
Yes.
humanist funeral, or do you have instances that the deceased person left some instructions before, or are these mainly your members, or do you have people who also come from other backgrounds?
Well, in Norway we have a graveyard law, and in this law it says that it's one who's left behind in the family, say the son or the daughter, has the right to decide what funeral is going to take place. So, but it says also in the law that the funeral has to be in line with the deceased beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is a big issue because we know for a fact that
Yes.
many of our members have died and they have had Christian funerals because it's the families who decide. So
we have this paper, or what should I call
means it's vilja.
my last will.
Yeah.
Where members can put down how they want their funeral to be, but it doesn't have a legal status, so they can show that to their families, but still it's the family who decides, so it's not that they have to stick to that last will document.
But this is I think this is a very important aspect of what we do, and something that we're going to start digging into this, because actually my former boss, the person who had this job before me, she's now the director of the funeral office in Oslo, which is like an official neutral office, right? So we have a humanist in there.
Yes, very good.
So we're going to try and,
Change the rules.
try and do something, right? Yeah,
Oh.
that's our plan.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, the numbers you mentioned at the beginning are really impressive, and I can just hope that we in Poland would ever reach 1% of your numbers. But at the same time, I also wish you good luck with more people joining your ceremonies, and especially confirmations, I guess, because this really sounds like a very, very important event that can change the lives of many people. So it's really amazing.
Yes, it's too bad that you don't have that tradition
Yeah.
in Poland, because it is a very good arena to meet young people and introduce them to humanism.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe we should think of introducing some new traditions.
Yes,
definitely. Yes.
And good luck to you as well in Poland.
Yes.
Thank
Good
you
luck
very
to you,
much.
and thank you for coming to
Yeah.
visit us.
Yeah.
Thank you.